where we connect mentors to mentees. On this show, I have with me a very distinguished senator, Chukwuma Ibezim, and over to him, I'm going to ask him some questions on the show about his life's experience.
My name is Chukwuma Ibezim. I represent Imo North Senatorial District. Thank you.
Please, can you tell us about your life's experience, what you went through?
What life experience do you mean?
Growing up, where you're coming from. I know you were born in the family of Sir Hezekiah Ibezim. So I want to know, what was it like growing up?
I had fun. 7 children. And once I realized that I am human, I realized that I was taken care of by my parents, and I've always been taken care of, so they took care of us. Even while they had the Nigerian Civil War, in the midst of all of that, we didn't really feel, maybe because I was very little and too young, but all through that period and up until I was able to fend for myself, I didn't really lack. And I thank God for it, and I thank God for making my parents my parents. If you're talking about well-being, that's it. As far as life experience, went through school. It was pretty okay to go to school, and parents were always checking on us, so it wasn't too difficult to be a good young man. So that's how life was, went through school, and maybe because of the cordiality and relationship I had with my parents, my dad actually decided which course I had to do in the university, because he wanted to set up a foam making factory, and he said that if he has to open a foam making factory, I have to study industrial chemistry, because I have to be a full part of it and run it. And that was why I went and studied industrial chemistry. Interestingly, the foam factory was opened, and we did run it. Unfortunately, we had a fire incident that destroyed the factory. Within that period of time, my younger brother, who was now living in America, had to ask me to come and take some fresh air. And that fresh air that was supposed to be for like a month lasted, because I had to now settle in America. By the time I knew it, I had to become a resident. I had to get married in the US and then sojourn in the US, and then realized that I was burnt out early in the US, because once you have the so-called American dream, which is having a home, having the cars, I felt like there's more to life. And I woke up one morning being disenchanted with the system, because I realized that now that I own a home, I realized that I probably needed more. And that was why I decided to move back to Nigeria with those children that were very little, age 5, 3, and 1. And luckily, my wife agreed to move back, and we lived here, and the children came here and went to school. And they had to, while they were about to get into the university, at the end of their high school, from the 10th grade, they were migrated back in America, and they've all gone to school and graduated in America. The first one has agreed to do her youth service, finished, and 3 of them are back in Dallas, where they live.
Okay, thank you. I want to also ask you, did you encounter any hurdles?
The training. My parents started teaching us that every day you have to pray, you have to learn how to read the Bible, not just in English, in Igbo. So we will learn to read in Igbo and also in English. Reading the Bible was one of the fastest ways to learn languages. So we realized that it doesn't matter how life is, your cup is seen as half filled. So it became difficult for me to say that there were difficulties. But I mean, going to school, you have to pass your exams, you have to study, and times you had to be awake to study. And but for all of those life regular issues, I can say life has always been good. But you know, the challenges that you see and think is too much, we've been taught to see them and think that they are not too much. That's why I say my cup is always half filled and not half empty.
Okay, so what was your motivation throughout your life's journey? What motivated you?
My upbringing, my parents believe that, first of all, they told us that there's no way we can honor our God without honoring our parents. So we learned to realize that for everything that was sojourned in life, we must be held by our parents. So behaving well is a function of making sure that you'll be seen as a good child, you know. So it's been like that, and by the time you knew it, you stopped being a child and you became a parent, and then you begin to require the same yardstick that your parents required of your children, and that's the way life is. Having said that, I mean, whether it's coming to join politics or doing business before joining politics, I've always been taught that whatever thing you venture into, try to be the best you can be in it. So in the course of trying to be the best I can be in it, I've always come out realizing that God has been faithful and that I've pretty much done well in all of those life issues.
Did you look up to anyone, and why did you look up to them? You know, growing up, our parents would always say, this celebrity or this person, you could look up to this person, you can be better than this doctor. I remember those days my mom used to say, because Ezekwesili was a woman of class and well educated, and I could be better, I could be like that, I could be like Oprah Winfrey, and some of those people I looked up to. So did you look up to anyone?
Well, my parents started with telling us that if we have to honor God, we have to honor them first. So they became our role model. You know, my dad did very well in his own field. My mom did very well, and both of them were our role models. And I mean, when your parents started telling you that you have to, for you to honor God, first of all, have to learn to honor them. And when we've been taught that honor thy father and thy mother so that thy days will be long. So they became pretty much our role model. And what it meant was that we should aspire to be the best we can be. So I realized that for anybody to work very hard to be at the top of their career, we should emulate the good aspect of what brought them to where they were. So role model, my parents.
Okay, what inspired you to go into politics?
The reality is that, you know, when I moved back from the States, I realized that the country needs to do better than it's doing. And I also understood that in the midst of plenty, we are suffering. And I realized that it has to be leadership. So I came, and some of my friends that were in politics, it was natural for me to join them and work with them. Even before I moved back, I was very close to Senator Rocha Sokorocha, who, when I was moving back at that time, he was the one who said, are you sure, Frank, you want to move back? I said, why not? I'm moving back. He said, leaving America. That was like in the year 2000, 2001, right before 9/11. And he told me, if you're moving back, I have a place that you can stay in Abuja. By the time I moved back, he was also actively in politics. So it was easy for me to join in what he was doing politically. And by the time we knew it, he tried to run for presidency in 2023. And that was how I looked at politicians and I worked with him. And then I got interested in Imo. I have a brother, Chukwuma Ibezim, who was trying to run for governor that time. After he didn't get that governorship, we became close and we were trying to do politics together. So I got involved. It was after getting involved in trying to assist people do their thing to run that I started asking myself, why don't I run as well? So that was why I ventured into running for Federal House. By the time I tried to run for Federal House, I first of all tried, and it was like a joke in 2007. Then I tried another one in 2011. And for all of those trials, I had a lot of experiences out of them. And my story in life, I've always tried to do things, but whenever it's time, it's always interesting. I ran for Senate. I didn't prepare for it. I didn't plan for it, but it happened, and I ran and I won. So that's been my story. Once I've tried to do stuff, when it's time, it happens for good. So here I am, Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and in the process of being in the Senate, I've also learned that we must aspire to be great leaders. The reason, in my opinion, why Nigeria has not developed is because this is one country where we do not have those serious necessities that make a country, people to wear their right thinking cap to begin to look for how to diagnose the problem. This is one country that from the north to the south, there's no place where you have earthquake. From the north to the south, there's no place where cold or heat can kill you. So those necessities that would drive people to, that drove the element to strike stone together or struck the stone together to begin to have light and energy, we are not there. But unfortunately for us, we have run our economies poorly to the point that more than 70% of our population is 40 years and under. And right now, they are hungry, angry, and the majority of them are on drugs. So that is the necessity we require. That is why you see people killing people without thinking. So that's the necessity, and that's why I believe that right now we have the necessity. We have to have the right leadership to retool the country and rejig the economy. And I'm very hopeful because we have a new president and this renewed hope. And I believe that Nigerians should give this presidency a chance. I believe that this president is one man that has over the years tried and prepared to be president. And even yesterday, while he was doing his inaugural speech, he said we should not feel sorry for him, that he looked for this job, he asked for it, now that he has it, that he is ready. So all he requires, or every one of us should tell Nigerians is, please, let's pray for this man and give him the support that he requires. Let's give him a chance, pray for him, have an open mind. And he's not going to be able to do it by himself alone. We have to assist. So what do I mean by that? He's only going to be president. He's not going to be the ministers. He's not going to be the heads of civil service. He's not going to be the... So for every one of us that is praying for a better Nigeria, we should bring in our own quota of ideas and suggestions and inputs. Had my own fair share of experience in government, and for all of those shares, there's nothing I did differently to be there. It was just God's calling. And what I have done is, after serving, I go back and begin to do my own bit of the quota of governance. Once I leave this office by next week, I have always believed that we must bring back agriculture as the mainstay of our economy. So my foundation, in trying to even as a senator, trying to empower people, I majorly ventured into giving empowerment in my rural senatorial district in the area of agriculture. I got about 125 rice farmers to bring their 1 hectare, and I gave them rice seedlings. Eventually, I gave them fertilizer. Right now, I'm also trying to empower. I also empowered cassava people. Today, you saw me with the CEO of NIFOT. And what is it that we're doing? I'm trying to, they are NIFOT and Bato, where they have all sorts of empowerment program I'm signing into with them, where they would farm on pumpkins, or go farm on some other horticulture seedlings to empower the people. And those are the kind of the things that I've decided to pursue this period. I also signed up with the federal government venture in Onimo, where they have the fishery in Onimo with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. And I've told them that they should empower our young people in fishery. Those are the areas I'm doing empowerment in now. Also, I'm trying to do all sorts of empowerments in some other agric areas. I'm introducing palm kernel oil machines and palm kernel and palm oil machines, just to encourage our rural farmers. So my take would be to look at agriculture as a business, and that's what I'm facing this period, and that's what I intend to do for now.
Thank you very much. So what's your advice to the youths?
Well, my advice is, yes, sometimes I feel bad that they didn't have the opportunity that I had growing up. And that opportunity stems from a lot of young people, growing up in homes where parents didn't do what they ought to do. For those that didn't have those kind of upbringing, they can't sit back and say, well, because we didn't have it, we're dead. There are people who lost their parents at very tender ages, and they grew up, advise themselves, and become the best they can be. All I'm asking our young people today is, this country is a great country. In the midst of anger, hatred, there's a lot you can do to advance your cause. If you've been able to go to school, no matter what level of schooling, you should be able to address yourself and govern yourself to be able to see what you can do by yourself. There are so many areas where we can start up projects and programs without too much money. We should be able to start up with looking around our environment, be nice to people. If you see someone that is your relative or a friend or someone you don't even know, and they own a car, there's nothing wrong with trying to say, okay, let me go and clean his cars for free. And just start from as the little things, and I believe that Nigerians are great people. Our young people should want to work. I believe that the moment we realize that it is not overnight success, because there's no overnight success that stands the test of time. What stands the test of time is success that is built over the years. And a lot of people are looking for young people who they can align with to make better people. So whether you are in school, do your best in school. When you're out of school, if you're understudying a business, be honest, understudy the business, do the best you can do. Because ultimately, God will look at your heart and He can bless you even from the most humble beginning. He can bless you from the places you do not expect that blessings will come from.
Thank you very much. This brings us to the end of the show.